The film starts today in one of South Korea's schools. We see a group of bullies harassing a girl named Phony. Since today is her birthday, they bring a cake and smash it in her face. At that moment, there's another girl with them named Song, who feels deeply sorry for Phony, but unfortunately she can't speak up. Either she stays silent, or she'll become a laughingstock among them. Years go by. We now see Song as a withdrawn girl, listening to music in her mother's restaurant. Her mother comes in and scolds her, saying, "You're trying to skip the school trip, aren't you?" She urges her not to surrender to the bullying she once faced, and to move on with her life. But Song explodes emotionally and says to her mother, "You never once listened to me or saw what I was going through." She storms out and goes for a walk. After a while, she stops near a particular tree and begins kicking it furiously with all her strength until, suddenly, Phony contacts her. It becomes clear that both of them had become victims of bullying. The next day, we see Phony again at school. A group of students from her class break her phone screen. But we notice that Phony is extremely withdrawn and even afraid to respond. That night, she goes to meet Song in a public bathroom. There, Song pulls a noose out of her bag. We are shocked to find out that they've decided to end their lives to escape bullying forever. Song had prepared a will and gives it to Phony because she is going to die first. She tells her, "Put the will in any mailbox. Maybe someone will understand how I suffered in my life." She wraps the noose around her neck and prepares for death. While doing so, she remembers Lin, the main bully from their past who used to lead the group that harassed them. But suddenly, she opens her eyes and sees Phony reading the will. Phony reads that Lin had moved to Seoul to continue her studies and her life has improved dramatically. At that moment, Song becomes furious and decides to postpone the suicide attempt. She opens Instagram and sees pictures of Lin looking completely happy and carefree. This triggers intense anger in both of them. The bully who once made their lives hell is now living a normal, happy life. So they decide they must take revenge on her first. After that, they can think about ending their lives later. It then becomes clear that in the past, Lin and her friends also started bullying Song, just as they did to Phony. So the girls go together to Phony's house to get money for their trip to Seoul. At that point, Phony steals money from her little sister, who sits in a wheelchair. But just then, the sister comes out onto the balcony and starts shouting at her while crying. And just before Phony and Song leave, their father and mother arrive. The father also scolds Phony for taking the little sister's money, completely ignores her, and runs directly to comfort her younger sister. But the real shock is that the mother doesn't even glance at Phony. She walks into the house as if she doesn't exist. At that moment, we understand. They are completely focused on the younger daughter because of her disability, and they completely neglect Phony. Song and Phony sit together afterward and realize that the money they have isn't enough for the trip. So Song leaves and tries to find another way to get money. She sneaks into her mother's restaurant and steals money from the cashier. Then she grabs a box cutter and runs toward the bus, barely making it in time before it departs. She and Phony are now on their way to seek revenge against Lin. Once they arrive in Seoul, they are completely amazed by everything around them. Of course, the capital is unlike any other city in Korea. After resting a bit, Phony asks Song what she plans to do when she sees Lin. Song tells her that she'll expose her in front of everyone because Lin really cares about how she looks to others. Phony says, "That's it? We came all this way just to embarrass her?" At that moment, it becomes clear that Song is very impulsive, while Phony has always been the type to think things through calmly. It's as if she's saying, "Revenge is a dish best served cold." Eventually, they arrive at the building where they believe Lin is studying. As soon as they enter, they're greeted by a man named Myung, who welcomes them warmly the moment he finds out they came to see Lin. The girls begin to notice religious symbols everywhere, but they don't understand anything yet. Then Lin appears. She's very happy to see them and immediately hugs Song. Since Song used to be her loyal follower in the past, she only gives a polite handshake to Phony, fully aware of how terribly she treated her before. Suddenly, a group of young children appear. They're all laughing and thanking God that Song and Phony arrived. This sudden attention leaves the girls completely unsure of how to react. As the girls sit with Lin to understand what's happening, Lin tells them that she quit social media a long time ago. She explains that the Instagram post that helped them track her down was actually from a very long time ago. She also assures them that she has confessed all her past mistakes and now only seeks their forgiveness. At the same time, she tries to justify the way she treated them in the past, saying her mother was sick and it caused her intense stress. She adds, "I wanted to make everyone's life miserable just like mine." Song is, of course, stunned by what she hears. Phony, however, believes Lin is lying to them again and says, "Stop acting. No one's going to believe you." But then, to their shock, Lin sits down on the floor and tells them, "You're here to take revenge on me, right? Go ahead. Hit me, just like I used to hit you." At that moment, Song becomes extremely emotional. She doesn't know how to react. Myung enters the room after hearing the commotion, but Lin stops him. She says, "They're suffering because of me. I have to accept the punishment." And then she recites a quote, "When you smile during loss, the victor loses the pleasure of winning." Song and Phony don't know how to respond. They came here to seek revenge on a girl who once bullied them, only to find that she has become a devout religious woman asking for forgiveness. Phony whispers to Song, "There's no way I'm believing Lin's repentance, no matter what." She feels hurt and helpless that they won't be able to get their revenge after all. Song then pulls out the box cutter and says, "Then let's kill her and be done with it." But Phony says, "She's already dying in her own way. Even if we kill her, it won't give us anything." So, Song decides to give her a scar on her face, something that will stay with her forever as a mark of pain. She prepares to do it, but just then, Lin completely ignores Song and runs over to Phony, who has fallen ill and is vomiting. Lin helps her into bed and asks Song, "Should we take her to the hospital?" Myung reappears and says, "Here, we pray and ask God for anything we need." We then see the children gathered around Phony, praying sincerely for her. At that moment, Song starts to notice strange symbols and religious signs in the place. She doesn't understand what they mean. Myung approaches her and asks her to hand over her phone, because using phones is banned here. He informs her again that Lin has truly repented and is asking for their forgiveness. But Song keeps remembering everything Lin did to them in the past and absolutely refuses to forgive her just like that. The next day, Phony recovers and goes to Song. She asks her, "Why didn't you stab Lin while she was asleep?" Song replies, "I waited until you got better first, so we could escape quickly after doing it." And anyway, they both go downstairs to eat. They notice that before anyone eats, everyone stops to pray and give thanks. At that moment, Phony especially notices a girl named Jin, who seems to be secretly bullied by the younger kids. Later on, they go outside and see a photo of a strange-looking island. Someone comes over and tells them the island is called Paradise because it's completely isolated from the world. Everyone here tries to reach it through earning spiritual merit and faith. Lin adds, "My mother went there and I'm waiting to earn the necessary merit so I can go there too and live only for faith." At that point, both Song and Phony feel upset. There's something sincere in Lin's voice, and that bothers them. Then Myung shows up and offers to take them on a field trip. They agree, hoping to isolate Lin during the trip, so Song can carry out the mission and they can escape afterward. During the field trip, Song spends more time talking to Lin. Meanwhile, Fawny shows sympathy toward Jin and tries to talk to her, since everyone else completely ignores her. After a while, Song prepares the box cutter again to scar Lin's face. But she's stunned when Lin suddenly says, "I was so afraid, that's why I bullied others." This causes Song to freeze while holding the cutter. She doesn't know what to do. Lin apologizes and seems to accept whatever happens, but Song breaks down emotionally and is unable to harm her. The truth is, this situation is as painful and difficult as it gets. You can't help but ask yourself, if you were in her place, what would you do? When Jin returns and sees the vegetables she had collected, she is shocked. Someone has thrown them all on the ground. She approaches Lin as well, but Lin decides not to get involved at all. Meanwhile, Myung starts yelling at Jin, accusing her of causing discord by blaming her peers. He says, "Surely the devil inside you is the one trying to stir this strife." He deducts merit points from her and forces her to apologize too. At that moment, Phony notices that Song has begun to soften toward Lin. It's becoming clear, Song actually believes that Lin has changed a little. Later, when they return to the compound, they find that the parents have come to visit their children, especially Jin's father. Meanwhile, Lin sits with Song and Phony and asks for their help. She says she desperately needs their forgiveness to reach the required merit level so she can be reunited with her mother in paradise. When Song says she'll think about it, Phony becomes upset. She hasn't forgotten the pain and torment Lin caused her. Later, when they're alone, Phony says, "I don't believe Lin, and I never will." She then blames Song for not scarring Lin's face so they could just leave this place. Song answers, "I was ready to do it, but she stood in front of me and said, 'I'm sorry.' What was I supposed to do in that moment?" Phony gets even more frustrated and says, "You haven't changed. You're still Lin's favorite follower." That night, Song stands and watches the kids playing outside. As always, Jin is sitting alone. Song joins them for a while. At that moment, they've prepared a big birthday cake. Suddenly, Song remembers Phony's birthday years ago, when Lin and her friends smashed the cake in Phony's face and recorded it. Song had seen Phony sobbing that day. But the moment Lin called her, Song walked away with her and didn't care at all about Phony. When she snaps out of the memory, she runs to find Phony, but she's gone. Song races up to the rooftop and finds Phony standing at the edge ready to jump. Song panics, she's terrified of heights, and struggles to stop her. Song peers and blew the over. She cries and apologizes to Phony, telling her, "I saw you being bullied and I couldn't do anything." Phony shocks her with a confession. "I'm not innocent either." After they come down, they hear Jin's father shouting and even hitting her because she lost merit points. The poor girl can't even cry in her bed because the other children complain that her crying disturbs them. The next day, Myung stands in front of the merit board. At that moment, we see that Lin and Jin are tied in merit points, till only one of them is supposed to travel to paradise. Soon after, everyone is gathered to watch a video of a worker praying, and everyone around him prays along. This is the decisive day when Myung will reveal who gets to go to paradise. Lin stands up and declares that she has publicly confessed all her past mistakes. All that remains is for her friends to forgive her for what she did to them in the past. She then asks Song to stand up in front of everyone and say whether she forgives her or not. Song stands and says, "Lin has changed a little, but I haven't changed at all. I didn't realize back then that my silence caused harm to others too." Then she turns to Phony and says, I know these might just be words to you, but when I'm with you, Fani, I feel less of a desire to die. I feel like I want to keep living, so I'll follow whatever decision you make without question. Then she turns back to Lin and says, You've been apologizing to me this whole time, but if you want a real miracle, try to get Fani to forgive you. When Myung asks Song if she forgives Lin, she replies, I'm still not sure. At that moment, Myung immediately announces the merit points in front of everyone. He declares that Lin has the highest points and that she's the one who will go to paradise. Jin's father explodes in anger. He says, Of course my daughter would have done whatever you wanted. She should have been the one to win. But Myung shuts him down and says, Lucky, next time pray and ask harder. After that, Song and Phony decide they want to leave this place after everything that's happened. But they forget something in the office. When they go back to get it, they find Myung and Jin's father inside. They immediately hide to eavesdrop on what's going on. It turns out that Jin's father had paid a huge amount of money to Myung and his cult so his daughter could travel to the island. He says, Why are you siding with Lin again? She's not supposed to win, especially this time. At that moment, the father realizes that Myung has been scamming him all along and that no one is actually going to paradise. The father goes completely mad and attacks Myung. Just then, Lin enters the room. Myung takes advantage of the distraction and delivers a brutal blow to the father's head, killing him instantly. Lin is horrified by what she just witnessed. She stares at Myung in shock. Myung pretends to be filled with grief and starts crying. He begs her to help him escape. Lin agrees to help him and goes to get his passport so he can escape from the compound. While doing that, she notices Song and Phony, but says absolutely nothing to them. Meanwhile, Jin's father is still alive. He wakes up and points at Lin. She's the only person he can see. Immediately, the cult members assume she's the one who attacked him. They seize her and take her to a terrifying ritual around a fire, claiming they need to exorcise the demons from her. At that point, the cook ties up Song and Phony too, planning to punish them as well. But when Jin sees them, she feels sorry for them. She steals the box cutter and hides it in Song's pocket to help them. Then the cook loads Song, Phony, and Lin into a vehicle. Lin especially had been beaten so violently that her face was disfigured. They are taken to a specific location where the cult plans to end their lives forever. But as soon as the cook steps away, Song and Phony manage to untie themselves at just the right moment. But Lin says, No, I'll stay here. Myung promised me he'd return and we'll travel to paradise together. Song and Phony decide to leave her to her fate and walk off into the forest around them. But suddenly they are horrified. They find Myung hanged and dead in a gruesome state. Shaken, they rush back to Lin. When she refuses again, they finally confess. Myung is dead. Only then does Lin agree to leave. She's barely able to walk, so they help her as they escape. Before leaving, Phony sets the entire place on fire. They continue walking with Lin until they reach a fork in the road. At that moment, Song says to her, We're never going to forgive you no matter what. Phony adds, Go live your life. We're done. Forget about us forever. Song and Phony return to their city after this insane journey. But when they arrive, they find a group of girls waiting, bullying them as usual. They say, Finally, the crazy ones have reunited. This time, Song steps forward and pulls out the box cutter to scare them. The bullies back off. Then she grabs Phony, and they walk away. Phony gets on her bicycle and rides ahead. As she's riding, Song calls out to her at the top of her voice. Phony turns around and asks what she wants. Song tells her, Welcome back to hell. That one sentence carries a heavy truth. That bullying doesn't disappear just because Lin is gone. You'll keep running into people like her everywhere you go. And it's not always possible or right to seek revenge. But what you can do is defend yourself right then and there, no matter how impossible it seems. Now I want to hear your opinion in the comments. If you went to get revenge on someone who hurt you deeply, and after years you found they had truly repented, would you accept their apology and forgive them, or not? And that's where the film ends. We hope you enjoyed the full story. Don't forget to like the video as usual, leave us a kind comment, and if this is your first time seeing us, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of the recaps to come. Kji.